Let's build a bridge to tomorrow.
Welcome to Silver Circles, an intergenerational podcast where we reflect on the core values that shape who we are at Silver Oaks. I'm your host, Aparna Prasad, and I'm glad that you all are joining us for this conversation today. In this episode, we will be talking and looking at habit number 7, sharpen the saw. When we ask our students to be balanced, we are asking them to sharpen the saw. When we are asking them to be reflective, we are asking them to renew. So, character before competence becomes a unanimously, universally sustainable statement. The best and the most competent version of you comes from who you are as a whole. So, this episode asks a simple yet a hard question. In a time where the world rewards being busy and busyness, how do you take time out and make space for renewal? We have got today members of our Silver Oaks community who will add in their perspectives and their experiences to this conversation. Let me introduce you to the panelists. We have our current student, Abhay Lakkoju, who is a grade 12 student and also a national swimmer. Abhay, a national swimmer, balances academics with competitive sport. Daily training has taught him discipline, muscle memory, and mental resilience. He believes that becoming better is not about sudden leaps, but about working slightly smarter every single day. On this panel, we have got our alumni, Prithvi. Prithvi is a third-year MBBS student at ESIC Medical College, Hyderabad. He is pursuing medicine with focus and discipline. During his 14 years of schooling at Silver Oaks, he served as student school president in 12th grade, exemplifying leadership along with strong academic performance. We have our long-standing teacher, Ms. P.T. Suma. Suma is a seasoned English educator with over 30 years of experience across schools and college levels. A senior secondary teacher and CBSE head examiner, she excels in communication training, curriculum planning, and mentoring. A certified global career counselor, she blends leadership, language expertise, and student guidance with dedication and integrity. Ms. Nisha Mathew. Nisha brings over a decade of commitment and integrity to Silver Oaks. An award-winning chemistry educator and CBSE resource person, she mentors senior secondary students with empathy and purpose. Currently pursuing a PhD in education administration and leadership, she champions character, collaboration, and informed career choices for future-ready learners. We have with us our parent representing the parent community, Mr. Karuturi Kondaya Chowdary. Mr. K.K. Chowdary is the CEO and Director Operations at Nippon Net Solutions, driving transformative growth since 2007. A former Infosys leader, he blends technology, strategy, and entrepreneurship to scale businesses, foster innovation, and champion AI-driven transformation. Passionate about mentoring and process excellence, he believes dedication and attitude define true success. Welcome you all to this podcast, Sharpen the Saw. So now I'll begin our questions, and as we do in all our episodes, we begin with our current student, and our current student Abhay will tell us about how he perceives and looks at sharpening the saw. So Abhay, training at a national level requires repetition. How do you stay mentally sharp when the routine feels repetitive?
Okay, so as a swimmer, I've learned that success doesn't come overnight. It comes through repetition and practicing small improvements hundreds of times. And even if you don't feel motivated to do the same thing again and again, the mindset to just show up that day for practice It sharpens your mindset more than your body. So even if I get bored of the routine, I keep going because I don't think of the success ahead of me. I just believe in the process and believe in myself.
How many of us agree with that process?
I 100% agree, and I think that is one of the big reasons I think everyone should at least dabble in sports, because I think that is a mindset that is very prevalent among all sports persons.
Yes, yes. And then the fact that we shouldn't be afraid of or get bored of doing something repetitive, you know. Doing one thing and getting a high is momentary, but then afterwards you start searching for the peace that comes in. So now the next question is to Prithvi. Medicine demands sustained focus over years. What keeps you consistent when motivation dips?
When motivation dips, I remember all the patients that I'm lucky enough to see. Of course, I'm not treating them, but they are teaching me in a way. And when you see people come from abject poverty, and it's literally hand to mouth for some of these people, at some point you realize that what you're doing is bigger than yourself. Now, that is not to say that just because I'm working towards a profession that helps others, I should sacrifice my own mental peace for it, because of course, if you can't help others if you cannot help yourself. So it is just remembering that what I am doing is bigger than myself is very important along the way.
Suma, teaching year after year, how do you keep your classroom energy consistent without feeling repetitive?
See, having an experience of teaching over years, it's more about the different students that come in. They are not the same student. So I may deliver the content, but the lessons may be the same, but students are not same. Their energy levels are not the same. Their thinking is not the same. So I approach it differently. I question myself like as to what I can do, how I can do, and what is that after a repetitive lesson, maybe that which was interesting. So that adds something to me to take my teaching in a different way that can give spark to my students, and where I also have an acceptance to learn. So the learning has to be continuous, and it's also the mindset that makes a person to see that we are teaching this generation from a traditional teaching to a modern teaching, and the students how you can be the best version of yourself and how you can make a difference in the classroom. So I feel that at times I reflect more on myself and see to that I take the learning in a different way with different activities, and I also take the feedback from my students what went good at the end of the year.
So it's like the story remains the same, but you treat it differently, bringing it to the students,
Yes.
right? Yeah, yeah. Okay. So now my next question is to our parent, Mr. KK. In entrepreneurship, consistency often matters more than bursts of brilliance. What daily discipline has compounded most for you?
See, we have biggest challenge because we have multiple generations coming. With each year we have the new batch coming into our organization, and we have to sustain the core principle of our organization. So, as an entrepreneur, you have multiple disciplines that you need to take care of, and culture is one of the most important. So that is the biggest challenge that we have. Now we need to match the mindset of the young generation. It happens in my home also. We have 3 generations: Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Now if our generation has to cope up, understand where they're coming from, it's very difficult to sustain that kind of a common culture. So the biggest challenge that we have is to understand where they come from, because there is a gap, of course, and we have to appreciate the gap, learn the concepts on daily basis. So we have to keep on coping up ourselves with each hour, each day.
So it basically means that on a daily basis, you also learn from these youngsters about what world they are coming from and try to understand them.
That's actually true, because one opportunity that you have is with each batch you will learn a lot, and with each year we learn a lot. So I think it's always the way you look at it. There is 2 ways. One, being unhappy over the differences because we have a gap, and the other way is to appreciate the difference and learn from it. I think there is a great opportunity that we see every day to learn and cope up with that, and also mentor them and learn something from them. I think that's a give and take.
So how do you manage your that inner space? Because on a daily basis, you have to do a lot of things that you are supposed to do, take decisions, and have a life, that is busy and it is moving, and also trying to understand a new generation. So where do you and how do you take time for yourself to?
Your first question you asked whether meditation and exercise. I said both. So I do exercise every day. I think that's the time I try to retrospect. I listen to music just to re-energize ourselves because there is too much stress by end of the day. But giving up is one way, so that you live with the monotonous activities and just give up one day, or else re-energize every day so that you are prepared before you go to office. So that's what keeps me energized. I take that break in the morning 1 hour, I exercise, meditate a little bit, and then go to office with fresh mindset.
Wow, what a wonderful insight on sharpening the saw. So now my next question is to our head senior school, Miss Nisha. Leadership demands constant decision making. As a head, you probably have so many teachers, you have got so many students. What keeps your judgment sharp over time?
So actually, being a leader, and especially in the education sector, we deal with 3 partners. That is always with the teacher who comes with stress, students who comes with curiosity, and the parent community who comes with a lot of expectation. So to connect with all the 3 and to able to balance all the 3 in the different space. So what generally I take care of all the 4 cores. First is my body, having a proper sleep. Why? Because I feel that if I'm deprived from the sleep, I'll take a hasty decision, or I might be very quick in my judgment. I'll not be a good listener. The second is I take care of my mind. I spend some time in reading and learning from the leaders. And the third, what I consider is like when you look into the spirit, it's not about only spiritual thing. I always think about why. What is the purpose of doing this? So if my purpose is just to meet somebody's expectation, then I reflect on it. I feel that I think I'm getting diverted and all. So purpose plays a major role when I meet.
So it's basically realigning what your purpose is with the purpose of the school and see how it happens. So does this culture of the school help you in any ways in managing this entire thing?
Definitely, because every time when we meet in our month-end room, okay, so that's the place where all the leadership team sit and reflect on our practices. And every year is a renewal, I can say. So we keep on thinking like what went good, what is that we can do better. So that reflective action which we have done over the years has, I think, has made me also a reflective person.
Wow, great. So Prithvi, my next question to you. How do you renew your mental stamina during intense exam or clinical phases?
So I think different phases of your life demand different modes. I think exams are, at least in MBBS, it's one of those phases where you have no option. You have to push through. There is little time for anything else. But after that comes the renewal phase. The actual sharpening of the saw is where you talk to your friends, you go out or you stay in. You do whatever it is that you need to do to feel like a human being again, because it can take a lot from you when you give something so much. So I think rest, relaxation, and like being out among other people whose whole life is not your exam.
So during these intense exam time also, how do you manage to keep your cool? And
It's about the little moments, the small rituals that you can have. Like when I'm on the way to the exam, I never study. I always listen to music. So you need to find little rituals during the day that keep you connected to your life before the exams, or not just exams, whatever you're going through. You need to find little things that connect you to something outside of it.
Okay. So, Abhay, my next question to you. What does renewal looks like during peak training seasons?
Okay, so during peak training sessions, we are basically at the epitome of physical training. We are going through complete sessions and we have very less time to recover. So I think at that time, recovery is the most important thing. If we push too hard, there's a risk of injury, and coming back from that injury is very hard. And I had to learn this the hard way, because when I had to come back from the lockdown, after the lockdown, I started swimming again. And then all of a sudden, I increased my workload 10 times and I had to go through an injury. So then I realized that when you're going through, when you're in a sport, you do not push through very hard from the start. You work smarter every day, make little changes in your workload, so that at the end you get the final result.
Wonderful insight. So now, Suma, my next question to you. What small habit has sustained your excellence over the long run?
It's my continuous, continuous learning to do something, to see that I upgrade myself, and to see that I have consistency of learning new things and how I can sharpen the saw. We in Silver Oaks, it's not just the principle, but it is about how we practice it. So for me, it is like how I can update myself, what I can learn, how I can research. And you are not that stale teacher, or you say, a teacher who is not just coming something and delivering it to you. You become something different when you do different things. So this small act of change will definitely help us to be more productive.
So now, Nisha, my question to you. What daily or weekly ritual keeps you grounded amid institutional pressure? Because you are at a place where the parents come to you, the teachers come to you, the students come to you, and you also are answerable to the management, and because you are one part of that organizational chart. So how do you manage, with what daily or weekly ritual do you manage your mental health?
So like you said, Aparna, it's like a sandwich life for us. So as I mentioned before, like all three come to us. So I'm having a daily ritual, like I generally reach my workplace at least 20 to 25 minutes prior. I spend some time in my office. I read for 5 to 10 minutes. At least I see that I'm able to read 1 to 2 pages. 10 minutes of quiet time, which I spend in my office, help me to like organize myself, think with more clarity. And I think this is one ritual that I follow in the morning. In the same way, I close my day again by a small reading and doing meditation. So in the process of meditation, or you can say prayer, I reflect how was my day today, and did I really respond or reacted to different situation, because we come through many situations during this time. So that sometimes the parent want to question me for something or other, and sometimes management want to question me like what happened, why. Sometimes there's a student with a complaint about some issues. So I always think, did I react to the situation or did I respond to the situation? So the start of the day and the end of the day help me to plan my things better.
So on a daily basis, you go ahead and reset yourself, So that's a very micro way of managing your day. That's such a wonderful thing that, on a daily basis, when you do it, you are grounded and you are present in that moment. Yeah. So now my next question again to Prithvi. So basically, I wanted to know, how do you protect empathy and clarity in a field that can emotionally exhaust you? As you said, the people who come and on a daily basis, you see so much of poverty. Initially, it could be overwhelming, but there can also be times where you might become indifferent because day in, day out, you see these stories. So you feel, oh my, they're coming. But to keep that human thing inside you, to be able to connect, how do you manage that?
I think that's actually a very good point, ma'am, that you have raised, is becoming indifferent to suffering. And I think that is a pitfall that everyone who comes into this profession should be very careful about. I think the main thing is communicating with the people. When you talk to them, not just about why they're in the hospital or their economic situation, you realize these are people with full lives. They have children, they have other interests. You don't just talk to the patients, you talk to the patient attenders. So this is the luxury we have as medical students, because for 3 hours we are assigned one patient and we talk to them and ask them about their health condition. Of course, as a practicing doctor, you have institutional pressures where you have to see a lot of patients, and in a government hospital, the footfall is very high. But just trying to always remember that these are people who never wanted to come to you, but unfortunately they had to, right? So always remembering that they have a life outside of this, they are people outside of this, they're someone's son, daughter, father, mother. I think that really helps remember that you are dealing with human suffering here.
Oh, that's such a wonderful way of looking at, instead of looking at the problem or the symptom that they come, respect them as humans, because though poor, they play an important role. They are important for so many other people, and understanding that importance. My God. So how do you manage every day when you go back home? Because even when, I have this habit of reading books. That's my way of unwinding. So I begin my day with a cup of coffee. It's a luxury that I have a particular chair, I sit on that, and I have got a particular mug in which I drink my coffee, and I begin my day that way. And whenever I get little chance, I read books. And any story that has got suffering or anything like that, it affects me. It stays in my head for such a long time. Maybe because I empathize with that character so much. On a daily basis, you do that. So how do you cut yourself up from that kind of a situation and yet deal with them with empathy? That's such a wonderful thing that you are doing.
I think it's all about doing something unrelated to it, to see that even though there is suffering, there is still happiness in the world. So I recently got back into playing basketball, which I used to play a lot in school, but I got off for a while there. I do that, or I go to the gym, or I study. Again, because studying the science of medicine is different from practicing the art of medicine. So studying itself is a way to like declutter, or studying also, when you see suffering, you have that drive that I want to do something. Me, I can't really reduce their suffering because I'm not at that stage yet. But I can channel that into studying to see that one day this will probably help someone. Or sometimes when it is too much, you can just go out and play, and that does a lot for your mental health actually.
That's great. So, Mr. KK, my next question is, how do you teach your children that long-term consistency beats short-term intensity?
I'll take here the Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game. Okay, so I think we all know, as parent, generally we look at the general tendency is to look at the immediate results, right? So how are the grades? How are they doing? Are they getting into good schools? But consistently, one thing we tried, but parent gets, okay? We try to unconsciously try to look at the immediate results, but I tried cautiously to help them to look at the longer game. We might get lower grades, that's okay, because life is infinite, right? So I think that's where, yeah. So I keep telling them, be prepared. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities out there. And of course, this generation is facing even more bigger challenge. Even we are facing challenge at our organization, because with AI, every day we have to keep learning ourselves. What is that new thing coming up? The optimization has increased. The expectation from the general public or the customers are increased. And obviously that gets down to the kids as well, right? So it's very, very difficult times the human race is going through. I'm not trying to make it scary, look scary, but that's how it looks like. But I think we have to pause a bit, look at the larger game, and that's what we try to cautiously put it at the house level, at our home also, it's okay to get lower grades. Are you doing good? How are you doing from yesterday? How are you doing today? Just compare yourself, nothing else. There is no comparison, there is no competition as such. Your competition to yourself. I think that's what happens in sports. That's what Abhay actually clearly said, that, how do I improve myself from yesterday? I think that's how we have to keep ourselves active.
So basically having the conversations about, how were you and how are you better from what you were yesterday, and then having the conversations around this thing.
Yeah, the improvement is continuous. Results are, you might win, you might lose, it doesn't matter. The improvement is continuous. So here I would like to add on the sharpening the saw on 4 parameters. Ma'am has actually touched 2 of them. PMEC, the physical, how do you ensure that you keep exercising it, because you need to be fit every day. And M, that is mentally, how you read, you have to keep your mind sharp. And E, emotional, you have to control your emotions. Of course, we get angry. Of course, we get drifted. And especially in a profession like medicine, you have even more empathetic, emotional burden on you. So how do you balance it? And last is the character, which is the core of Silverworks. So how do you manage your character? So every day, maybe at the end of the day, or taking a pause and say, am I doing good? Is there anything to be corrected? I think that is something at school level, I think Silverworks is doing really good. Character keeping ahead of anything else. So rest all falls in place. Though I told it at the end, if you put it at the top, everything falls when you have a great character, I think.
Yeah, it's like sowing seeds, because we know one day these seeds will sprout and these seeds will become plants, and these are the ideas that we go ahead and talk about more. So we are almost coming to the end of the podcast. We had such great conversations with one another. Before I go ahead and conclude this episode, I would invite each panelist to share one insight that is their takeaway of today's conversation. I would begin with our parent, Mr. KK.
Yeah, I think the sharpening the saw, it sounds like a burden actually. Sounds like a burden. Like, do I need to reset every day? Do I need to learn every day? Do I need to do that? I think unless we find the happiness in doing that, I think it's very difficult to do it. It has to become a routine for ourselves. It could be anything. It could be exercise. It could be listening to music. It is talking to friends. But make it a routine. And look at learning as an happiness. I think it is something from childhood. If you can start doing that, in whatever the way, whether it's reading books or observing the people or learning from your colleagues, but that has to be there, and you have to start loving it, learning, enjoying that. And that's where it makes you full, and that's what I try to do.
So it's not like, parents are telling the children that, okay, you go ahead and do your 12th. After that, your life will be set. You don't have to work.
I cautiously not to do that. Okay, because that's a lie.
That's a lie.
So I learned that lie. A lot of people told that, but I tell that just enjoy it. Just enjoy what you're learning. And one question I think, a takeaway that maybe for parents, what at least once in a while I ask is, what is that you learned at school other than your education? So they talk, right? They want to share a lot of things. So these kind of sessions, the takeaway from this session as a parent, I think it is to remind ourselves there are certain things which we do unconsciously, put that pressure on the kids about continuous learning, which is good, but is it in the right perspective? I think that's one take. So sharpening the saw, it's good, but are they really enjoying it? Are they taking in the right perspective? Are we putting pressure in the context of saying that you have to sharpen the saw? Read this, read that, do this. So I think little taking a pause, see what their interests are, and maybe mentoring them, helping them to sharpen, maybe, and the observation starts at the home, right? They learn from us. So if I do exercise, probably I can tell them do an exercise. So I think as a parent, it is more burden is on us, or the responsibility on us to ensure that we do that every day so that they can learn.
Instead of asking them to do, show them how to do. Yeah, in your daily habits. Wow. Suma.
Sharpen the saw is just more than the principle, as I told. It should be the practice, because it should be continuous. Pause for a while, okay, understand what it is, how and who you want to be. That's very important. and then you see that, take it like a responsibility where you feel yourself responsible to grow. So growth is something more important, how you can grow and reach that ladder. So in times like this, I think we all need to sharpen the saw, otherwise we will be behind and will not be blunt. So it's very important that I think maybe 2 months, 3 months, or if you ask me, weekly or day wise also, maybe you need to reflect yourself. At the end of the day, you need to understand where you are, what you are, and who you would like to be. Would you like to be something new, or in the present world where we are living, how we can create a better tomorrow?
Wow. Yeah. So, Nisha, what is your takeaway from this conversation?
Yeah. So I would like to connect with the story that you shared. So an advice to all the leaders, academic leaders, is that uh, don't be busy in don't be busy in cutting the wood. Take a pause and to see that you sharpen your saw. Why? Because I have realized that things will go on whether you're there or you're not there. Nothing is going to stop. Yes, that's the point when I realize it's not the momentum, because momentum can lead into a pressure, but it is a reflection that needs more time. So I believe let us pause and take time to sharpen the saw. And I would like to conclude in this way that great schools are not led by authoritative leaders, but it is led by reflective minds.
And we are blessed to be in a place where we have got very reflective minds.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Abhay?
Yeah, so based on what I've listened to and all the other perspectives that I've got, I've realized that sharpening the saw doesn't mean that you're not changing as a person altogether. You're just refining yourself and getting better 1%, at least 1% better every day. So that it's just like sharpening a knife. You're just taking away what makes it slower without changing what it truly is. So we must refine ourselves.
Yes. So wonderfully put. Prithvi?
So, ma'am, I think the most important takeaway for me, and I hope everyone watching, is to remember that nobody is truly ideal and everyone needs to take a break. And even like throughout this podcast, I've said the way I speak may come off as taking a break is very glamorous or in that way, but sometimes you're just truly burnt out. People get burnt out a lot, and sometimes that's all you can do is to just lay on your bed. So I think remembering that not everyone is ideal, and even the people that you might look up to have those moments. So you yourself taking a break is not a bad thing. I think remembering that is the most important.
Instead of being pushed to take a break, it is better to realize, reflect, and continuously take these little breaks so that you're not pushed to do it. Yeah?
And also not having the shame
Associated with taking a break. Saying that, yeah, I need, and taking that space and time, that ownership. Wow, wonderful. So with this, we come to the conclusion of our podcast. Such wonderful conversations that we had. And my takeaway is a little of everything that everyone spoke. Like Mr. KK said, it's that life is learning is infinite. So it is all about, it's not a full stop. It's a comma that you put at the end of each sentence or each phrase. Every day is a phrase and you're putting a comma. And when you put that comma, as Abhay said, when you come back for that wonderful tomorrow to do things that you love and like, but things that are repetitive, it is important that we go ahead and take that break. As Prithvi said, own it up. Take a break, because taking a break doesn't mean you are giving up. It basically means you are rejuvenating and you are coming back stronger, and it is needed. So instead of waiting for this thing to happen where you have to realize to do it, go ahead, take that chance on a daily basis, rejuvenate your mind, physically keep yourself active, and also intellectually invest time in yourself. So we come to the end of this podcast. Thank you very much for being with us all in this conversation. We look forward to having you again in our next podcast. So until then, 3 cheers to Silver Circles.
Let's build a bridge